This is Josh with Arcade Collectors Worldwide. Starting our new YouTube channel. This is our first video. Never done anything like this before, and by far I'm not the expert on arcades, but I know my share fair. But I figured I'd share a little bit of tips and tricks and a little bit of repair videos and gameplay videos with y'all. But tonight I actually wanted to show you what I'm going to do is I've got a Wells-Gardner K7000 chassis here. It's actually out of a X-Men cabinet that I received for free. A friend of mine saw that his neighbor had this sitting out by the street next to their trash can the day before their pickup. And I managed to get it before morning so I could wouldn't have to see this go to the dump. Really, there's nothing that much wrong with it. The only couple things that I have noticed as far as flaws in the equipment is the chassis here. Great, it's clean. The whole entire unit was complete. Other than somebody decided they needed to come through before I managed to get it, and they took 3/4 of the JAMA harness and remote board harness that I'm holding here. They decided to take it all out and cut it for scrap money. What little copper content is in the cabinet to begin with, they took only the wiring. But anyways, we've got everything straightened out. I actually got another harness from a member on KLOV forums. He even labeled every single one for him, but I've still got partial harness down here, so it's just color to color, more or less. But as far as the problems I'm having right now is this chassis, about after 5 minutes or so of running, the unit will actually begin to make your zapping noise, signals of a bad flyback. And to take care of this while it's down and getting repaired and, so to speak, restored, I decided to pick up a brand new flyback transformer. Picked this one up on eBay just because it was cheaper than really anywhere else. It was from an arcade seller. They resell parts, but it's just your basic K7000 flyback, new anode cup, and believe it or not, all the pins on it were straight when it arrived, which is kind of a rarity when I've received flybacks. The only other thing that I have had with this is the Konami audio board on the X-Men. Since it's a 4-player X-Men, their audio board was famous for the capacitors leaking on the ceramic chip that housed all your audio components. And it shorted out your audio, and it would, over time, your audio would get weak, it would get quiet, and it would just eventually go out. So between the monitor issue of your flyback here going out and making the buzzing, which I'm sure gave him no picture, that and the audio board, I'm assuming that's why this was along the side of the road. But everything was complete. It had all the buttons, all the game board, the monitor. The monitor turns on, and it just, like I said, it's that flyback. But I do have a cap kit coming from Syracuse Semiconductors. I've done a lot of business with them. They're really reasonable as far as prices go. That should be here tomorrow, which I will do another video summarizing up a cap kit install. But tonight, what I plan on doing for y'all is I'm just going to show me replacing the remote board wires here. And also I was going to see if I have enough time. I'm going to go ahead and try and slap this brand new flyback in there. And I will show a little tips and tricks as far as how to get that done. And after a while here, we should have a working arcade within time. I will make a few videos over this arcade to be able to share with everyone. But anyways, let me go ahead and get my tools ready, and we'll be right back to get set up to start working. Alright everyone, back here, got the soldering iron heated up and ready to go. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell or not. Let me zoom in. I actually went through and previously marked all of the solder joints that I have to undo for this little harness. So that way, all I got to do is go back and unsolder them and take them out and resolder the new ones in. Unfortunately, I do not have a solder pump yet, so guess what? We get to use the braid. I really dislike it due to the fact that it usually takes a lot of heat on the solder joint, which can cause trace lifting, but if you do it just right, you can normally get it. You just have to, it takes a little time. But anyways, I'm going to show unsoldering a couple of these joints here, and just so you don't have to get bored by watching me solder all of these joints right through here that are required for the remote board, I'm going to go ahead and unsolder a couple of these and fast forward, and we'll be right back with you as soon as I get unsoldering these. We're going to start out, got the soldering iron all nice and hot. Like I said, I already previously marked these for the wires that I actually have to unsolder. That way I don't have to keep flipping the board back and forth when I've got you on camera. But anyways, here we go. Just hopefully these come out pretty easy. I've had some trouble with these in the past, and I want to make this as easy as possible. Alright, we're back. I got all the harness resoldered back into the board. I'll zoom in here just so you can kind of have a look. And a lot of these connectors right through here, you can tell where the fresh solder is. That's where I installed the new/used harness, but we are hooked up now. I have the connector there ready for the remote board, and we're all set to go on that repair. So that's one thing more done on this. Now, the next step I'd like to do is replace the flyback transformer. Once again, I'm not going to show the desoldering and unsoldering, just due to the fact that when I'm using the braid, it takes a while and it's very boring. So anyways, I'm going to flip this chassis over, and I'm going to show a couple of things you need to do to prep the chassis in order to get it ready to throw your new flyback in. Due to them being under this aluminum cover and screwed down, you actually have to move that in order to get it out. It's too tight of an area to be able to squeeze that flyback transformer in there, because there's a little section of it here that slides underneath that aluminum heatsink for your high horizontal output transistor. Excuse me, it's late, I'm tired, and we're doing this video. But anyways, step number one is you want to get you a Phillips screwdriver, and you need to take out these two screws right here. Alright, and I'll be right back. I have to grab a screwdriver. Alright, got my trusty screwdriver here. Talk about unprepared, right? We're going to take these two screws out here. This one here actually attaches straight to the flyback. It's just a bracing screw. This other one right here, that goes to your main frame heatsink of the chassis, where there's quite a few components mounted. Now, before you get to going and yanking on this aluminum right here, to move it out of the way to remove the transformer, you actually need, I'm going to zoom in right here. Right here, you need to unsolder one of the legs of this transistor, because if you don't, you're going to damage it or the board, and it's not going to be good. So what you need to do is flip your board over, and you're generally going to see where that transistor goes. And for instance, on this one, we've got 3 pins on here. Right here where this wire's coming in at, and then this one right here. They're really sloppy solder jobs from the factory. But anyways, this third leg is the one that you want to pull out. Right here where that red wire's coming in at. You want to unsolder this one. That way, when you go to tilt your heatsink right here forward, it's not going to put any damage on that transistor. And that is very important. Once you unsolder it, you can move this over to the way and bend the legs of your transistor just enough to move your flyback out once you unsolder it. Give me one moment, we'll be right back, and I'm going to unsolder this and get it moved over just so you can kind of have an idea of what it'll look like. Alright, as you can tell, I've got the red wire pulled out, and this is unsoldered enough to the point where I got the heatsink moved out of the way. I did also have to heat this up just to kind of give it a small tug to loosen it up just a touch more. But as you can tell, I've got that heatsink pretty far off there now, just enough to be able to get at our flyback and remove it. once we unsolder it. Now, the next step is, of course, on the bottom of your chassis, you've got all of your pins here for your flyback. And you want to make sure you desolder those, but be careful not to apply too much heat so you don't lift the traces. This is very important. You do not want to mess up your chassis board. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and unsolder these here quick and get ready to pull this flyback transformer out, and I'll be right back. Alright, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and show you the last pin right here that I'm going to be removing. Just so you have an idea at least of what I'm doing here. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's just more you don't want to overheat it than anything. A couple seconds, let off, let it cool for a small second, and I go back in and take it up. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a couple tries there to get everything. But now I do have every last pin on the flyback unsoldered and ready for removal. After I remove it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean all these areas up where you see all that extra rosin and everything there on the board with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I prefer 91%, just because it evaporates a little bit quicker. But anyways, now that we're completely desoldered, we're going to carefully flip the board back over, and we should be loose. I'm going to double check all my connections here quick. And we got a couple that have slight spots catching yet on some solder, so we're going to go ahead and make sure that they're all loose and there's no connections to those. I want to say it's this one right here. I see a small chunk of solder I must have missed. Anyways, let me hit this here quick just to get it off of there. Alright, I think that got it. Looks like it. Let's see, free. Yeah, we're looking good for removal now. Alright, once again, flip her over and see how tight it is, if it's still got any sort of connections. And we got one more pin, this little bugger right here. I knew that was going to give me some trouble. There's still a little itty bitty chunk of solder on the back side of that. So we're going to go ahead and get that off there. Alright. Looks like that got it. Alright, let's give it a slight wobble there to see if all the pins are loose, and it did. Now look at that. I just gave her a slight tug, and the flyback came smooth out of there. Sorry about the zoom in there. Have to work with me. It is the first video after all. But anyways, here's our flyback. The old one. Nasty, dirty, and ready for replacement. Ah, Taiwan. That explains it. Anyways, that's going to go in the garbage box. Now, like I said as before, we're going to go ahead and clean these contacts up around where the solder is going to be. Just that way we don't have any extra. It's going to be a nice clean contact, and we'll go back through with the resin. I can't. I need some sleep. The rosin core flux, and make sure that everything gets a good hot solder joint, so we don't have to worry about getting a cold solder joint down the road, at least for quite a long time anyways. Anyways, as you can tell, all of my spots right there are nice and cleared out. Now, I did watch a video on a gentleman a while back that he recommended on how to put these in. Now, he said, you know, it's not as hard as it looks, which I disagree. It is as hard as it looks. The pins on these, they usually come slightly bent or not exactly lined up to your flyback, and you can't just stick it on the front side here to line everything up at first, so you kind of got to fight with it a few minutes to be able to get it to line up. Now, one thing I did notice, and this is probably due just to the fact of change of times, this flyback is a little bit different. It isn't the exact same flyback, but it is a K7000 flyback. The biggest notice that I have noticed is this right here. That isn't on the other flyback. Also, on this backside, there's supposed to be a little screw, and there's not. Let me grab the old one quick and we can compare it. Alright. Now, side by side, you can tell there are some slight differences. There isn't the screw hole or anything, but all of the pins do match up. Now, I'm just assuming that that's a time change kind of thing. You know, more modern technologies, but I do know for a fact that it is a K7000. Some people said, oh no, that's not the right flyback. Well, it's not the first time I haven't had a flyback be exact to the original that came on the chassis. They are sometimes different, but make sure that when you do order them that you are ordering the correct one. Now, we're going to go ahead and try and line this thing up, and I'm going to see how easy it is for me. It might just slide in there and I might get lucky. And I might have to pull it back out a couple times and test fit, which I'm hoping not to have to do. Give me a moment here. And we got them. Wow, first try. How about that? The last flyback I did wasn't so forgiving. And you're going to want to snap it into your little snaps there on the board. You got one right here, and one right here. Make sure that those are clipped over the edge of your board so they don't go anywhere. That is, you know, help it hold in while you're soldering. And as you can tell, I'm going to zoom in here. And I've got all the pins of your flyback all set up right there and ready to go for some more new solder. I'm going to go ahead and apply some solder. Alright, while I've got you on the camera, the battery's running low. I'm going to do a quick little solder job on here, just so that way you can see what I'm doing and how I'm doing. Criticize me as you feel, but my way works. But anyways, it's quick and simple, not too difficult. Make sure you get plenty of solder on there. It doesn't take but a second to do. Ooh. Soldering iron got a little cool on me there. Give me a moment for it to heat back up. There we go. Add a little bit more solder to that one. It's a little low. Alright, there we go on that one. Another one there done. Alright, easy as that. Got the new solder installed. Let me zoom in there just so you have a quick little look. And they are all good other than some minor flux. Other than that, let's see, let's flip it over and get a good look at that new flyback in there. Make sure you don't pinch any wires when you go to putting this back together. Alright, now she's in there and ready to roll. Just do a reverse of what you were doing prior. Make sure that you heat up your transistor down there in the bottom so you don't break its leg or anything. No puns intended, of course. Anyways, make sure you get that, heat it back up, and then you can bend this back over. And when you do, be sure to put your screw back in. Real simple, one Phillips screw. This particular flyback, I do not have to worry about this one because it is non-existent on this newer flyback, excuse me. Anywho, once you do that, put it all back and you can go ahead and try and give it a test. But I will be back later in the next video to go ahead and show you a cap kit install. And thanks for watching, everyone. This was Josh with Arcade Collectors Worldwide, and thank you for watching this first video. It might have been boring to some. Some might say, oh, you're not doing it right, and criticize me, but feel free to tell me what you feel. All comments and advice are welcome, and be sure to join the Facebook group Arcade Collectors Worldwide. If you search that in your search bar, it should pop right up. We're a small but yet fastly growing group on Facebook, and we'd love to see more members. I will put a link in the description, and we will accept really anybody that's got a interest for arcades, repairs, restorations, and it doesn't matter what kind of game. Pinball, video, redemption, whatever your type of game is, come on with it. We'd love to have you, and we're a very friendly group, so hope to see you. Thanks for watching.